You are now entering a dangerous liberty zone where God-given natural rights are held sacred and exercised. This is your warning. Tyranny, fascism, and censorship will not be tolerated. Ideas will be exchanged freely. Rigorous debate and open discourse is encouraged. If you are weak and your beliefs are fragile, you should leave now. Prepare yourself. We are now live on the Dangerous Liberty Podcast. What's happening, folks? Happy Tuesday, everybody. I hope everybody's having a... What are you doing over here?
I was almost off the screen. Sorry.
Sorry. I was trying to push you out. Hey, welcome, everybody. I want to say hi to everybody over here in the chat. We got Khan, God Offspring, Jason, TG Sponsor, Harold Shepard. Who else we got over here? Lori, good to see you, Lori, and everybody else. Make sure you guys say hi. We're still having some connectivity issues with Rumble. I'm going to try to jump over here and read the comments from time to time, but I don't know what happened. Everything was great at Rumble, and then somehow we lost connectivity with StreamYard, which is the software we use. The Long Shot, what's going on, Mike? Good to see you, buddy. Dustin Sanford, John Rollins, everybody else that's pouring in, make sure you guys say hi. Make sure you like, subscribe, all those good things. If you guys haven't went over to Area 419 and subscribe to their YouTube channel, you guys need to do that. They put out some really good and informative content. Hank, good to see you, buddy. But
we got Otter over on Rumble.
Otter, good to see you. Apex Shooter, good to see you. Without further ado, we're going to bring on one of our favorite people representing one of our favorite companies. Craig, it's great to see you, buddy.
What's up, guys? Really glad to be here again.
Yeah, man. If you will, just take a minute for everybody. I think most people here know you, but go ahead and introduce yourself real quick so that new people coming in and watching this, they know who you are.
Yeah, so my name is Craig Arnzen. I'm VP of Sales and Marketing here at Area 419. Been with Area 419 since I hit up John trying to buy something from him in 2016 and traded a website for a rifle. And shoot, what is it now? 9 years later, my family now lives in Ohio. We've got 38 people that work here. We ship all over the world every day. It's a wild thing. My job basically consists of managing the product line and then how it goes out to the world. So John is a mechanical engineer, is an absolutely brilliant design guy, and he loves the machines. So from product design to programming and getting the first one made, that's John's ball of wax. Justin runs our operations. So once the first one is made, Justin turns one into many, and then I make them go away. And then we get through that whole process and figure out, what we kind of need to make next. And then we all sit down in a room and say, cool, let's make it again. We're based just outside Toledo, Ohio. And we make, we're an American manufacturer. We use American raw materials. We have Americans out on the machine floor. Nobody now. It's in the evening. So we're working on robots. They might not be American. They might be significantly Japanese or German or something like that. But the flesh and blood around here is all red, white, and blue. And we make tools and accessories for reloading and precision shooting applications.
Yeah, man. I think that's definitely going to be the center of what we're going to be discussing tonight. You guys have had the zero out for a long time. You've been making dies for a while. And I think, again, I just got in the Gen 2 Zero, and I love that thing. Man, that thing is absolutely the Bugatti of reloading presses. No doubt about it. And
yeah, man.
So I think there's a lot of people that have had some exposure to the Gen 1.
Yep.
I'd like to talk a little bit about some of the differences between the Gen 1 and Gen 2, what improvements you made. And then I want to kind of educate everybody on your dies. And I'm also curious because I still don't have one. I need to order a couple of them, the S dies.
Yep.
We'll get into that too. What were you going to say, babe?
No, I was just going to say it was funny. I'm sure Craig would understand, but Gary comes up to the store and the first batch of Gen 2 presses had arrived. Next thing I know, Gary's running out the front door with a box. I said, come back.
Tires squealing.
He's gone.
Literally, he was running out the front door with the box. And I was like, wait a second. Story of my life.
The bad thing about having your own store is that it often gets robbed. I get high on my own supply.
It's exactly what I was thinking. That is one of the rules, Gary. You can't do that. and I'm trying to find here, and I'll find it and drop it into the chat. For anybody that doesn't know the story of the Zero, a little over 5 years ago, we decided to design a reloading press, and that was at a time where I was shooting a lot of matches. I mean, I think in 2020, I probably shot 13, 14 like major matches. I was on the road all the time, reloading a ton of ammo, and I didn't love the press situation. I reloaded largely on a Redding T7, and it did a lot of the things I wanted it to from a convenience standpoint, but I had some qualms with the way that it was put together. Or I could move over to the next one and reload on a coax, which was a really nice machine, but there are certain things about it that I didn't like. And I could then jump to a rock chucker. And, I had all of these, and we thought, all right, reloading press would be cool. John was interested in making something more complex, and the Zero's born. And that was a press that shook up the market. When we rolled out the Zero, we didn't believe that there had been a meaningful substantive change to the way reloading presses had been made in any of our lifetimes. And realistically, since probably the late 60s when Bonanza rolled out the coax. So we went to work. We designed what we thought was the very best product on earth, and we think is still among the very finest. I mean, we could have kept making the Gen 1. We sold many thousands of them, way more than we ever expected.
Mm-hmm.
But all along, we went through the process of, if we could change something, what would we do? How could it be better? How could we add a feature? How could we add some functionality? And for us, Gen 2 is all of those little things shoved into one. Now, that's not to say that a Gen 1 press that somebody bought six months ago is suddenly bad. They're still amazing machines. The number one piece of functionality that we wanted to bake into the Gen 2 is for customers that wanted to be able to run their press in a cam over configuration. We thought originally, and realistically still think, that the very best way to size is with the top of your shell holder meeting the bottom of the die. So Gary, you're sizing right now on an M series sizing die for the 300 PRC. The way those set up is the shell holder comes up, hits the bottom of the die, and then you make your adjustments on the M series with the micrometer. But you've got hard on hard at the base of the die. We still like that. Not every customer wanted to do that. They might want to use a die that requires them to float the shell holder, honestly, significantly off the bottom of a die in a certain situation. So the big difference comes down to that little hole right there that you might be able to see me through. When we built the linkage system onto the Zero Gen 1, it was built around these heavy shoulder bolts. Let's see if I can see if it'll focus. No, I don't have control of my camera.
Cover your eyeballs. As long as you cover your eyes, it should do it.
There we go. Those heavy shoulder bolts moving into, and this is a Gen 2 body, coming in, shouldering on the side, having a decent amount of contact surface here with the body, and then a ball and rotational bearing package that held on the arms. That's the way those work. Very smooth. It's been very robust over time. We've had no failures with it, but it was built around the idea of ball and thrust bearing packages that allowed the ram to move super smoothly. You get that. You get the ram to the top, you make contact, your bearings take up, everything works, everything's fine. But that doesn't do well if you're trying to float the shell holder off of the bottom of a die. It's a little more finicky in trying to find your consistency point. You can absolutely still do it. Thousands of customers do it all the time. But in trying to tune the press to be a little more useful with this functionality, we allow you a little bit more travel now. And I'm talking like thousandths of an inch at the top, but you get to that cam over point. Now, I'm going to keep going in kind of my glossary of terms here and talk about what cam over is. When a press ram goes up as a 4-bar linkage system, which all of your common presses are, your amount of mechanical advantage as that ram gets to the top of its stroke becomes, at the very top of its stroke, basically infinite. And what a cam over does is allows your handle to go just past the point where the top of your ram actually goes to its peak and then comes down just a touch, so that you're getting all of that very top of the stroke where that mechanical advantage is massive. On the Gen 1, what we did is we stopped it just before the top. What we're doing on the Gen 2 is letting you get to the top and then past cam just a touch. We're coming down single thousands at the top because we don't like cam over that goes too far, because then you're going up and down as you size, and that's not good for your brass. And there are various consistency issues that can come with that as well. So now we're getting an amount of cam over that is really, really quite small, but it's there if somebody wants to get all the way to that top. We're maintaining full rigidity through the top. We change a little bit of what's happening in the system. So instead of having this bolt into the side of the body with a ball bearing package built around it, we now have a custom, turned and then ground rod on ID ground, oil impregnated bronze bushings. This is a very common way to do ultra precise fittings that move quite well in the industrial world. And now, as you make this thing, let me see which side this unscrews from. Here we go.
Let me interrupt you right there. So one thing that I would just tell you guys from my initial impressions on this, like whatever you're seeing on here, whatever you've seen on a video or whatever else, folks, the scale of everything on the press is just massive. And it looks so good it does. The other thing I want to say, as I already see you guys asking some questions, I'm highlighting those, so definitely continue to ask questions.
And I see them as well, and I'll catch them as we go through here.
Yep. Or we'll go back and kind of hit all those questions, but we'll make sure we get your questions answered for sure. So keep them coming. I'll highlight them and we'll get to them, guys.
But now the way this package works is these bronze bushings are press fit into the side of the press, and then this ground bar goes all the way through the press, and then it's captured on this side, and the arms go through and everything. So instead of screws going into the side and then having a buried package that attaches to them, we're now ground rod inside the impregnated bronze bushings. That's giving you full double shear. We've got something running all the way through. It's enormously robust. It's it allows us to have more firmness at the top, which allows that cam over, as well as being. We've got some other voodoo witch magic that's built into this thing that makes it unbelievably smooth from the first stroke to the very last one. We warranty them for 10 million strokes, and I'm still waiting for somebody to call me and say they got there. The warranty on them's forever. They're an unbelievable product, and we think Generation 2, 5 years later, many thousands of them later, was a great kind of next step in good enough not being good enough. When we felt like we could substantively add a change or make something that allowed a little more feature or might be a little more robust in one place or another, we just went for it. We didn't rest on the Gen 1 being an amazing product.
Yeah.
One question that I think is kind of relevant. I feel like I know the answer to it, but I don't want to.
You know the answer. Yeah, you cannot. And the big reason for that is the change from it comes down to these holes in the side, and the Gen 1 is countersinks and then threads that these bolts then work down into. This now is hole all the way through. So could you convert it? Sure, but you're going to need to have a 5-axis mill in your garage, and that's not going to happen. And the replacement parts that would be required to do this would be virtually your entire press, save your turret and your handle. So the major changes of this are not something that can be made. We also added some other creature comfort items like the torque tool that you have. We put a little pocket in it here if somebody wants to keep it on their press. We added a detent. Let's see, you can see it back in here. A detent for your primer tray, keep them in there a little tighter. There were certain changes that we actually made over the lifespan of Gen 1. Like this hole in the back right here was added because you got an assembled one. You've got a drill bushing here and a ball bearing that does your detent on your turret. If for some reason you took the thing apart and you dropped the ball bearing in without the spring underneath it, it could be stuck. Well, we can now run a cleaning rod up it and knock out your squib. We changed some things with the way that we handled debris and trash. Realistically, in Gen 1, we probably overthought some things, and we phased this out over Gen 1. But this is 5 years later, everything we've learned about a press, everything we've learned about the way that people use it, and how can we package that all into something that we think is worthy of a second generation product.
Yeah.
And to put things into perspective, for those of you that are, I don't know, suffering from FOMO, if you have Gen 1 versus Gen 2, I mean, the big significant change here is the ability for cam over for those. Now, if you've already been loading on, the Gen 1, you're obviously just fine without cam over. And basically you guys just made it a little bit more adaptable to really a personal preference more than anything.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's correct.
So don't, I mean, if you want to go out and sell the Gen 1, so you have the Gen 2, just like you upgraded your iPhone, you're
Right.
welcome to do that. And you can go to ParamountTactical.com and we'll take care of you.
Yep.
Bingo.
But yeah, I mean, obviously don't feel like that you are compromising the quality of the ammunition that you're producing. If you're stuck with that old fashioned Gen 1.
Yeah. It's so one of these comments I want to jump to. Jeff Johnson asks us, and is this the same Jeff that works or worked at Bartland? Maybe it isn't.
No.
Jeff Johnson.
No.
So he asks about to do a single or like a true single stage. We consider the Zero to be a single stage press. That turret on the top is just uber repeatable die storage. One of the reasons we went with the turret is because when you're changing out dies in a single stage, and the coax has a very novel way of doing it, good for Forrester. I really like the team at Forrester. But if you have a traditional like O style single stage press, removing and replacing that die in and of itself is an inconsistent tool change. The 7/8 the coarse 7/8 threads that are on the common dies that we use are not precision threads. It is the thread standard that started being used in, I believe, the 1930s by RCBS, when that was the thread class that they manufactured to. So when you take those out and put them back in a common press, the odds for variation in that are huge. So for us building the turret, you're going to set that die, you're going to get it exactly where you want it to be, and then it doesn't go anywhere. The system that we use to hold the turret on top of the press is very similar to the systems that we use in the shop behind me to hold fixtures in the machines to make sure that parts are exactly the same every single time. That's a huge part of why we think the Zero really matters, and one of the reasons that people can get such repeatable ammo out of it, lot over lot over lot. Making a single lot of super accurate ammo realistically can be done on lots and lots and lots of presses. People have been doing it for a very long time.
Right.
Where we think the Zero really shines is, let's say you got your 300 PRC, and you've got a 6.5 PRC, and you've got a 6.5 Creedmoor, and you've got a 6 Dasher. You got those 4 rifles going. You're constantly loading one or the other. I want you to be able to load 10 lots of any of those ammos, and as long as you've got the same lot of powder and the same bullets and everything's good, every one of those projectiles is going to be exactly the same, and you don't have to load them all in one sitting. Load 100 now, 100 later, 200 here, 150 here, and they're all the same, because we've taken all of your die, all of your reloading setup, we've totally taken it out of the equation. It's just got to be exactly the same every time, and that component's really important to us at the Zero.
Yeah, I mean, I still got my Forester up there. I'm going to end up freaking mounting it somewhere. No reason getting rid of it. It's still great. But I will say that changing, especially if you're going from, if you're having to change that shell holder out from small to large, it's a pain. There's no doubt about it. And this is so nice. I guess it's some sort of taper mount that you guys have in there where you unscrew that and it lifts up and you move it and just, and then it just, as you tighten it down, it kind of sucks that turret back down precisely in place. It is just that feature alone. I'm going to end up shooting a video on. I love that feature. I think that says a lot to the overall engineering and design behind it.
I have a kind of a spare parts Gen 1 back here behind me that I could rip something off of and show you the way that works. But this pull stud, the way this works is there is, like you said, there's a taper in here that matches the geometry on the bottom of the turrets. And when you drop the turret in, it grabs it. And as this works in, it's a taper that's on an angle. It sucks it down exactly like you say. And then you get the big flat surface here. The clearance between the bushing that goes in here and your turret is exceptionally small. Your ball bearing with obviously the detents in there, keeps everything straight. The repeatability of taking a turret out and putting it back on, you can measure in the 10,000ths. It's incredibly consistent. And again, we're taking design cues there from the people that have figured this out in machine tool holding. We're putting thousands of pounds of tombstones. Yeah, like you're seeing there, that taper. This and that they're perfectly made for one another. And as you tighten that wedge down, it pulls that turret down, and there's nowhere for it to go but for exactly the right spot.
Yeah, and I guess because this is one thing that I didn't really know. One of the options that you guys will see on when you get a zero press is the hybrid or the standard, and the only difference on that is the turret itself. With the hybrid dies, what the hell? I'll just go ahead and pull this off. But Craig, explain to them what the difference is, and I'll grab this as an example.
Yeah. So Summer, show us the top of that turret. So that's the standard. That's got 9 7/8 die holes in it. So your common dies that virtually everybody probably has, they're 7/8 threads. You can put 9 of them in there. It's wonderful. Or you can get a hybrid, which Gary's grabbing one of now, that's got 4 holes that are 1.25 and 4 holes that are 7/8. So that you can, if you want to use our M series dies or some other larger format dies that exist, you can kind of blend them. The reason we did it this way, and somebody brought up seating dies, we're going to make a seating die. It's in process. Once we're really good at making, look at that die. Once we get to a place where we're really good on variety and inventory on sizing dies, we're going to make seating dies. But that one's got, you got 2 1.25, 2 7/8, 2 1.25, 2 7/8.
You're trying to show them the whole sizes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so right next to that big, beautiful M series die, if Gary wants to put a 300 PRC cedar right next to it, he can do it. And you can alternate those back and forth, or however you want to do it. That gives you kind of some versatility. We also make a pure 1.25 die that is 8 1.25 holes. Most people don't have any utility for that, but we obviously wanted to make that and have it be available as well. We don't sell presses packaged with those. We just sell those dies, those turrets separate.
Yeah. And I know you guys don't make it, but let me tell you something, folks. Do yourself a favor. If you get one of these, get the stand as well. What is that, like Big Dog Steel that makes
Big Dog Steel. Ryan Brent, he's a good friend of ours. He's a little over an hour down the road, and he also makes some cool holsters, some cool like AR-500 targets. But when we were making this, we're like, okay, somebody needs to make a big sexy stand for it. So we called Ryan and we're like, hey, do this, and we'll make and we'll sell a bunch of them for you. We also have Dan at Inline Fabrication. We've got inline fabrication mounts for them and like QD plates. So whatever kind of stand you like to use, the Big Dog Steel is great. The inline stuff's great. There are good options on the market.
Yeah, that is super. Again, when you guys, another thing when it comes to the scale of what we're dealing with here, when you guys see these M series dies, I mean, they're just they're massive. They're not going anywhere. It's legit. I actually pulled the shell holder sleeve out of one. Like the sleeve in that is as big as what your standard die usually is. So yeah, they're
well. And that sleeve, I'm gonna go grab a turret head here with some dies in it. That sleeve is almost exactly our S series die. Now that you say that, I'm going to grab this and do some show and tell. That turd all the way out. There we go. All right, so show and tell piece here. So you've got your M series die here, and Gary, as you're talking about, this is a modular die. So the M is really for micrometer, because what we can do with an M series die is you can set your headspace with a micrometer on the top, similar to your seating depth. So the way the M series dies work is you got a sleeve in here that's spring loaded and then comes to a stop against wherever this micrometer sets it. And if you look in there, you can look closely and see that we've got markings by the 1,000th. This one's nice and tight. Put together a door.
hold on a second.
I don't know if I'll be able to get this apart without grabbing a tool, but You can pop the top off of this, and this slide in here is modular. So this one is, look at my engraving. This one's 308. Gary, your 300 PRC die is identical, except for this little interior sleeve. That interior sleeve is all of your sizing. And when your shell holder comes up, the way you set these up is your shell holder actually makes really positive contact with this bottom surface on the M series die. And then your sizing sleeve floats inside it, or has additional travel inside it, doesn't float. Use a rag or my shirt, or I'll hit it with my purse, Con. Nope, I got it. If Summer were here, she'd be able to get it for me. But
that's why Craig.
Yeah, but you have additional travel with your sizing sleeve here. So as you push up inside it, your sizer can continue to move and is stopped by your micrometer. So it allows you to set headspace incredibly quickly and repeatedly with the micrometer on top here. Then that internal piece can be changed. We sell sleeve and mandrel kits, and you can get just that sleeve. So, if you want to turn your 308 die, let's say you're not loading 308 anymore, you're mostly loading 6.5 Creedmoor or 300 PRC or whatever. You can swap out that internal die, and you're off to the races. And those sleeve kits are the M series die is an investment. Those additional sleeve kits are significantly easier to swallow than buying additional full dies. But that interior portion is basically the sizing portion of our S series dies. Now, this is one of our S series dies. This one is, let me read the engraving, 6.5 Creedmoor. So just like we have these sizing sleeves inside here, basically these sizing sleeves then become threaded, and we put a cap on them here. The cap is here so that you can change out your mandrel. So if you want to set your neck tension, you change your mandrel. And then we've also got a spring-loaded plug in here so that when you're decapping with your sizing die, you get that really satisfying like toink of it slinging the spent primer off of the interchangeable decapping pins. But the S series sizing die is a really good product. It does everything that our M series die does, only you can't set the headspace with a micrometer on top. You've got to set this up like a more traditional die, which means you can either float it off of your RAM, or you can use one of our modular shell holder kits. I think you guys have one of those as well.
Yep.
That's another good option if you're using like our S series die, or you got a short action customs die there, or whatever, a traditional 7/8 die. That's a good system for any of those as well.
Yeah, and I love the fact that we can set the shoulder bump using this micrometer. I mean, folks, that is so much nicer, so much more precise than trying to, how it is, guys, where you're trying to loosen your locking ring, the whole die moves. You're just trying to change it by 1,000th or a 2,000th, and next thing you know, like you're just running brass through there and having to restart the process over and over again. I love the fact that, again, all we need to do is use the micrometer right on top. It changes our shoulder bump to do exactly where we want it to, and it's just simple. It's easy. It's just super nice.
Jeff's comment.
What do you say?
He said, setting the headspace with the micrometer top is Gucci AF. Of all the things that push me toward hiding this from my wife, that's the thing.
Dude, it's a cheat code. It's unbelievable how nice it is. The first time you do it, you're like, why haven't we been doing it this way forever? Honestly, this product, as niche as it is, and we have many, many products that sell larger numbers. This thing is crazy. And it is this word's so it's so cringy, but it is as revolutionary or game changing as I believe a sizing die can possibly be, just in the fact that it's so stinking easy to use, and it's built in a way like we're reamer cutting all of our dies. That allows us to really maintain a high level of dimensional accuracy. And like Gary found out, I'm going to out him for this. He did not use proper lubrication and stuck a 300 PRC case. 300 PRC cases stick. That there's so much brass down at the bottom that if you're not very well lubed, if you're not slippery, You can
Hawk
you
to
can
it.
stick one.
Just stop.
Right. Just you got to spit on it, Gary. You got to do it. But we sized the whole case. We sized way low on the case, and we end up finding out there are a lot of people that make really good rifles, and there are a lot of people that don't. But we get a lot of full size, and we learn a lot about what's happening in the market. But these dies are exceptionally on size. You're getting an approximately new brass size out of them, and then obviously your headspace is independent, set it to whatever you want. But your body is an approximate new brass size. We worked very closely with Alpha Munitions. We think they're the best brass makers on the planet, and they helped us spec these things, and shared some of their knowledge to make sure that when you're using these, your brass is correct. And we can feel really confident in that.
Nice. Yep. No, I think again, until you see it in person, it's really hard to appreciate just number one, the fit, the finish, the scale of everything, how everything is robust, how you can just look at it and see the time, the engineering, the thought that went into every single piece, how everything on that press is put together. Yeah, you know what? They're not cheap, but I think they're definitely worth it. And until you really see that in person, I think it's hard to really appreciate that. And I love, number one, the stand. And I love the fact that on the stand, number one, it looks so good, but I love the fact that it has a spot for 2 additional turrets on there so that you can, for those of us that are reloading multiple calibers, it's nice to have those options. And just like you said, where you keep everything set up just the way that you want it. You don't have to change anything. You don't have to switch anything out. It's not necessarily a traditional turret press in that sense. It just looks nice.
And I've got a secret for the guys in the chat. Look, once you've bought your Zero, it's on the big dog stand. If you realize that you are suffering from caliber deficiency and you don't have enough calibers you're reloading for to fill those extra turrets, call Summer. Get a build going, solve the problem.
Right.
We can do this.
We
We're
can.
here for you.
We can fill all the spots for you.
That's right.
Exactly.
And send you more turrets, more stands, more presses, more.
I mean,
Gary will absolutely fill your holes with dies.
Yeah. Yes, he will.
You
could have like the whole family have a press on the reloading benches.
That's right.
Yeah, like a whole assembly.
We're building families.
Yeah, family time. Mandatory.
Sure,
family time. That's
absolutely.
What we all the time.
And folks,
don't you care?
Life is too short to continue reloading on that peasant press.
No, I mean,
joking.
I'm not an expert on reloading. That's why I'm just listening and absorbing during this conversation. But one of the things I really enjoy about you guys over at 419 is your dedication to when you do put a product out, you've put a lot of really nice thought. You've talked to other people in the industry. You've done your research. You want to put the best product out there that there is currently. And it's very easy to represent you guys as a brand and to sell your product. I mean, my God, we move through some Area 419 scope mounts for that very reason. I feel confident in recommending anything in a category from you guys. And I love that.
Yep.
I love hearing how much thought and effort you guys put into product development and wanting, there's a genuine love of putting out a great product and it comes through.
Yeah.
Our entire product line started because John was gunsmithing and the Hellfire muzzle brake came from, he was using other muzzle brakes on the market. And he was so anal retentive about it that he would spin a barrel and do the muzzle work. And then he would buy like popular brakes that were jam nut style. He would then buy them undersized, put them on the muzzle, and then bore the ID of that muzzle brake to match the bore of the rifle. Then if he would take the brake off and put it back on, he could put an indicator in and suddenly that bore had moved. And it just absolutely drove him up the wall. So, the Hellfire came to, how do we basically taper attach these in a way that you can take them apart and put them back on and they go exactly to the same place. Goes out and, he has a little mill going in the shop at that time, looks at the tool holders and the way that tools attach up into the spindle of a mill. He's like, I can do that. Comes up with it and the Hellfire is born, and it all comes from John likes really nice stuff. I like really nice stuff. That everybody here likes nice stuff.
Yeah.
And everybody that we know, including the whole chat, you've bought something and thought, damn, that's almost nice. That's really close to being good.
It was just that this one thing.
Right. And we got really tired of it.
Yeah.
So in shooting a lot, and John was shooting a lot at that point, I was shooting a lot at that point, we're looking around at all these items we use, and some of them were close to being nice. Some were not close. Some weren't even close to being there at all. But a brand is born, and I bet we can go all the way with that. And if we go all the way with it, we're going to need to charge a little bit more than some other people here and there. But we know there's an audience for it, because I just paid X for the item that's almost good.
Yeah.
Would I have paid a little bit more for the item that's actually good? Absolutely. Without a doubt, every single time.
Yep. I agree with that. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I got people going on the scope mounts over here. Garrett has asked this question. He said, is the area, and this is kind of off topic, but is the Area 419 Arca rail for the Barrett ever going to be available in black? It's only in the FDE right now, right?
Yeah. Do they make an MRAD in black?
That's what I was wondering as well.
I've never seen one.
Yeah. Maybe he some color contrast.
Right. And we could, obviously, but having never seen a black MRAD, we just try to make sure that it matches that MRAD, and we sell a fair amount of them to to the taxpayer, and it works that way. But I mean, I guess if there's demand for black, but
I mean, everything that's coming up is the FDE. So
I've never seen one.
I've never seen a black MRAD either. I do think that those are,
maybe someone's rattle canning it or doing a custom paint job.
At that point, you can spray your Arca rail.
Yeah. You just get a cert coated.
He said they make it black and gray.
Really interesting. I got to ping my boys at Barrett because they never asked for a black one.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, all the pictures that come up are tan, but that could be just because it's the.
Yeah, it might be a less common variant.
Yeah.
We've not talked about one piece mounts yet, but we can.
Yeah, let's get into that, because I do think, as a matter of fact, the cable retainers that you sent me, Craig, I shot a video on that. I thought that was quite the coinkydink that, again, I flippantly said in that video, it's like, hey, you guys built these with cable management in mind. Clearly you did. And I reshot that video showing how much cleaner of an install that whole thing looks with that. And I'm waiting for us to get them up on the website. The retainers up on the website before
Our web guy had the nerve to go on vacation.
Went on vacation.
Can you believe it?
It's like the people don't even work. But yeah, no, those are like everything about them. It's really, really hard to beat. And again, we carry some other scope mounts. Those are great too. There's obviously a lot of good products in the market, a lot of good companies making great products as well. But man, it's really hard to get past some of the really well thought out features that you guys put on that scope mount.
Yeah. So scope mount was a thing that we for a long time thought rings and mounts would make sense in our product line, but we didn't have a good idea that could create a differentiated product. And we're not interested in making the same thing that somebody else makes. We've never done that. Sure, products can have similarities to other products, but if we don't have something novel to bring to the table, we don't do it.
That's exactly what I was trying to say earlier. If you guys can't make it in some form or fashion better than what else is out there, you don't really do it.
Yeah, and like with one piece mount, and I think it's 35, 32, just standard one piece. The internal bore here is the thing that jumps out, and there are some other, like the guide pins to bring caps down are awesome, and they're a great thing when you're using them, Gary. I hear that you've got a somewhat festering addiction, which I very much appreciate with these. When you drop a cap down, they come straight down, and there's some cool stuff that we'll talk about with the taper attachment point here on the top of the one pieces. But that internal bore, and you pinged me about, hey, what do you think about like scope lapping and bedding? And I'm happy to talk about that.
Yeah.
We know that based on basically how everyone is making a scope ring or a mount, they're making the bottom, whether it's a ring or a one-piece mount, and then they're making the caps, and they're making them in separate operations. They send them out to anodize, whatever. They're never part of the same mother until they get to the assembly room, and then they're put together. And while that can lead to decent parts, and there are exceptions to this. I believe Geisley has a patent on they make them in one piece with a bore and then cut them apart and then send them to Anno. Like they do it in a little different process. But we thought, well, if we want the circle to be perfect and exactly on size and exactly round and exactly straight, that ought to be the last thing that we do. They thought, okay, well, then what happens? And we start making these, and we come to the realization that when we bore these at the end, that gives us a raw internal aluminum surface. And wow, there's a lot of upside to that, actually. This is going to be really cool. To grab the scope exceptionally well. We have a huge amount of grabbing force. We get a very, very, very round and on size surface. So anodize. When you send something out to anodize, you can spec your thickness, but in reality, anodize is going to be between a 0.5 thick and just over 1,000 thick, somewhere in the middle. And what we found that in this mounting game is the more tolerance you're accounting for inside the tube, the less uniform contact you get. So let's talk about lapping a scope ring. The reason things like lapping or bedding happen is you were trying to take up tolerance in one of two places. It's either in the actual manufacture of the product or in the way that items go on to Picatinny. Picatinny is wonderful because it is very robust and very, very easy to make parts for because the tolerances are pretty broad. You can make only
like 47.
Yeah. Your tolerances do not have to be good to make Picatinny work. It will go on. But the bad news there is if I've got a lot of slop or play available, because that's just the way that Picatinny likes to roll between the rail and the rings, well, they can maybe not be alignment. And if you watch the video that I put up on how to mount an optic in 2-piece rings, I like to get the rings on the optic with a basic amount of security before I start tightening to the Picatinny rail, because those tubes are very, very round and straight because of the way that they're laid turned. There are some exceptions to this, and some of them might be a little football shaped here and there based on what they've been through in their life. But in general, they're round and they're straight. Your interface between Picatinny and we do the Staneg, the rail grabber, the 3-piece grab, which everybody should be doing right now on a grabbing Picatinny accessory on a female. If you're on a Picatinny male, it can just not be in the right spot. And that's the nature of Picatinny. So if you're using 2-piece rings that are not exceptionally well made, or you're trying to, there's some validity to lapping in 2-piece, especially if you're using components that are not exceptionally well made.
Yeah.
I think there are quality workarounds to that, like we illustrate in, you should probably mount them a little more to your optic first and your rail second. But if you buy one of these and you lap it, don't do it. Do not do it.
Let me throw my 2 pieces on lapping, because I've been down this road a bunch.
Somebody just said Gary loves lapping rings.
It's Mike Morano.
Oh.
Look, folks. Number one, lapping is a vestige from pre-2000s when it comes to quality rings, quality optics, and things like that. If you go out and you buy in junk rings, you may or may not benefit from lapping. But today, when you're talking about all the top tier brands or even the medium tier brands, we're talking multi-million-dollar pieces of equipment, very precise. Those things are very concentric. They do a really good job with all this stuff. You are not going to tell me that $50 lapping bar that you bought from China is more concentric and straighter.
You're doing this with?
Yeah.
You're just giving it a nice rugged one and expecting it all to be square.
The least precise process where you're like, and
you're like, God, I'm tired of this.
You are not putting even pressure on any single surface of those rings. It is the dumbest idea ever when we're talking about good gear in 2025. Don't do it. You're going to create less surface area, create pockets of less surface area than you're getting from the beginning. So buy quality. Don't lap your rings.
Save yourself some time.
Also, if trade in your horse for an automobile and just come to the 21st century. We're here, folks.
Well, and then Jeff says lap and bed. So I have a little bit of understanding on the bed camp. I think they're in incredibly specific situations that do not involve our products. I do not think that you need to bed these in any way. Bedding, I can buy a little bit of.
No, Jeff just likes to provoke, Craig.
But creating the problem and then fixing it doesn't make you a rocket surgeon. It just means that you created a problem, then you had to go fix it.
There you go.
Yeah. And if you don't believe in the amount of grip force and surface tension and all those things, especially when it comes to the Area 419, all you got to do is go watch my video on them, their video on them, which I, stole clips of their video and put my video. But, they're literally putting a piece of stock in those that's exactly 30 millimeter. I don't know if you use 30 millimeter or 34 millimeter. It doesn't really matter.
34. It's right here.
34. And then they were shooting
that was the coolest
that
thing.
Target. And then they were getting no slippage.
Yeah.
So
5.56 at 50 yards. And you can just sit here and mag dump on this thing and nothing's happening. I think we took it all the way up and we saw slippage at like a 308 at 50 yards.
Yeah.
So a 178 at 308 speed at 50 yards caused, a 10 thousandths of slippage. I mean, that's the kind of, and we're doing this at 20 inch-pounds of torque.
And we're talking,
we just want the optic to be secure.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably what, like close to 2,500 foot-pounds. Of
A lot.
I mean, so don't lap rings, folks. Just buy quality. Buy once, cry once. And again, I do genuinely believe, out of all that I've tested, maybe there's something out there I haven't seen, but I do genuinely believe that Area 419 mounts are the best available. But if you buy any good rings out there or a good mount, especially a good mount, there's typically more surface area. I did run into this issue. I did a review on a 50 cal and I threw on one of our guns from our long range academy courses, and it just had
rings.
They're fairly cheap Zeiss rings on there, right? That's what they provided with the optics. And we did get significant slippage on that 50 cal. But so, there again, I was using something that it wasn't rated for. But again, most quality mounts out there, don't lap, don't bed them, use them what you got. If you run into problems, contact, because at the end of the day, even I know you guys do some extreme quality control, but you can get bad rings. Matter of fact, a company that we sell for that I would vouch for in a heartbeat, I was pulling some of their rings and mounting optics, and come to find out those rings were slightly undersized by a couple thousandths. And I noticed it right away, and I gave them a call, and come to find out they had a manufacturing issue that they weren't aware of. So, they had a batch of rings that were bad. So things can happen. But
we have made bad parts.
Yeah.
Everything made by man can be screwed up.
Mm-hmm.
We have made bad parts. It happens.
Yep.
That's why we don't have women making parts, because everything would be perfect.
They would be perfect.
So don't lap rings. If anybody else has any comments, gripes, or complaints.
Jeff says Night Force will void your warranty if you like.
Almost all of the freaking companies out there have that in there. Like, they will void your warranty if you're lapping rings. And they've said the same thing that I just said, like, you're doing more damage than good. Don't get out.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. One thing that we did kind of skip over, I think is actually really important on the dies, Craig, was the fact that you guys don't have any bushings. And I think,
correct.
Watching some of your content on that, I think you make a really good point on that, and why that you're only using a mandrel. Cover that a little bit.
So, all right, chat. Why would you use a bushing? What's a bushing used for in a seating die or in a sizing die? And as you sit there and type, and we get a little lag in this, I'm going to go ahead and explain that what a bushing does is sizes the outside of the neck of a case. You are then believing that by sizing, and there is a property here that by sizing the outside of the neck of the case, then you are controlling the inside of the neck of the case. But there's also neck wall thickness and things that go on. So you're taking a roundabout, tolerance-induced way of setting your internal diameter of the neck, which will then, once you shove a bullet into it, create your neck tension. Yeah. So Renee, Pete, whoever that is, they're right. You're just sizing the outside of the neck. What we believe you should do is actually set your size on the inside because your bullet does not care what the outside diameter of your neck is. Your bullet has zero interest in what that is. All it cares is what's on the inside, you know?
That's right.
So all of our neck tension is set with our mandrels. Now, there are certain ways you have to design a mandrel to really work. Your typical like carbide pull through button isn't great for consistency. But these are pull through. Our actual bearing surface that's full diameter for the mandrels is quite long. So your entire neck is under expansion tension all at one time. These mandrels are changeable. We sell mandrel kits, so you can go from something like it's either a half thou or 1 thou up to 2.5 or 3 thou. You got quite a range here. But when you shove a piece of brass up into one of our dies, it sizes the neck down fairly meaningfully. And then you pull it back over and you're expanding it over this mandrel and getting a very specific inside diameter of that neck. Now, a bushing also affects the inside diameter of that neck, but with more steps. What I also don't love about bushings, and this is long conversations with, Jim Borden is a guy that I'm grateful to count among friends and an advisor and a guy that I can call if I have a question. And he said, Craig, when bushing dies were a big deal in the late 80s and early 90s, when Jim was just a menace in bench rest, he said he had dies that he won world championships with that were not bushing dies, but were totally ground on the inside to the size he wanted. And he would just change dies instead of bushings, because when people started dropping bushings into dies, those bushings have to have clearance to go up and down. It doesn't have to be a lot, but it has to be something, and that bushing can start to float around. So you're inducing the idea of alignment tolerance with a bushing. You're also then inducing the idea of tolerance of your inside neck diameter, because neck wall thickness can vary. My friends at Alpha, I consider them the best brass makers on the planet. And they're like, yeah, of course necks vary in thickness. It can be quite small, but they can vary quite small amounts and tens of thousands, but if it really matters to you, it really matters to you across a single neck and from neck to neck. So given the fact that there is always tolerance in any part that you make, let's size from the inside where forget the tolerances. The tolerances don't matter, because all the bullet cares about is that ID of the neck. So let's set the ID of the neck on the ID.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's going to reduce how much you're working that brass as well too. Especially like I have several dies back there that basically I have bushings and mandrels in them, so I'm sizing them, both pretty significantly, and it is what it is. I think it simplifies the process with your dies. I think it makes perfect sense. So there is a question up here that Narb3H asked a couple times, is there a particular size scope for the 419 cantilever tactical one piece versus the regular 419 one piece mount?
Depends on what your rifle system is and what kind of eye relief you need. So, we've got our typical, and I don't have one sitting here with me, but our typical one piece cantilever mount is your common AR style cantilever where, your feet are here and your rear rings here and your front rings out here. And that's because typically you need to push the optic pretty far forward, especially on an AR-15, if you're running any version of magnification, LPVOs, MPVOs, whatever you got going on. Getting that thing away from you so that your eye relief works is pretty important. We also make what we call our mid cantilever product, and that's really important. You guys have the new Collis scopes now as well.
Yep.
There's a huge amount of distance between their erector housing and where that eye relief location is. So even on a common, let's say you're building a standard bolt action rifle on an impact or whatever, your rail stops at the front of the action. So if you want to get that optic any further forward because you need a little extra eye relief, it's nice to be able to use that mid cantilever product. It's not super tall, just to push that forward a little bit. So and when NAR B3H, so a SIG sawtooth. So a SIG sawtooth is that's a continuous top rail, right? That's like it's like the cross style. In that situation, you typically aren't going to need cantilever because you can just run that mount goofy far out if you want. You can obviously use one; you're not going to hurt anything. But cantilever is a big deal. Like with an AR-15, you don't want your scope mount grabbing onto your handguard. On every AR upper I've ever tested in any manner, and I got to tell you, I've not done this with an LMT, the true monolithic, and I believe they actually have intellectual property on that, which is why more people don't do it. But if your handguard and your upper are two separate items, do not put aiming devices of critical function on the handguard, because at that connection point, no matter if you have the most expensive one in the world that does it, you've got flex there. That's just the point of two separate parts. So you want your optic to be mounted on the upper, so that cantilever allows you to keep the optic mounted to the upper, but then shifts it a little bit further forward if you need it.
Yep.
Folks, I have a video where I go through the entire mount selection process, and I talk about all the different, right here, scope, ring, or mount selection guide, how to measure for correct height, decide rings or mounts, choose types of mounts, all those things. I show you all those things, all the different things that you need to consider, from the type of chassis and or stock that you're using, if you're using the AR style, if you're using continuous rail, all those things. So you can go check that out, and that should answer all those questions for you in quite a bit of detail, because it is a question that we constantly get, and it's a good question. It really is.
Yeah. And Jeff, look, buy the press, treat yourself. Summer's got a great layaway program that she works out. We believe in you.
Jeff knows me. He'll call me up. That's for sure.
Chargemaster Supreme. Yes. So when they went from the Chargemaster to the Chargemaster Lite and then Chargemaster Supreme, they changed what that plug looked like from the bottom, and we just haven't made a new platen for it. So yes, I don't know when it's going to be. Is it going to be this summer? Is it going to be next? No idea. But yeah, at some point, yeah, we'll do one of those.
Oh, you're going to make a
little cup. Yeah, we already have a cup. And if you have like an old Chargemaster, like an OG, we have a cup for it. It's just the cup has to sit on a little aluminum tray that we make, and that tray interfaces with the scale itself. And when they went to this newer generation of Chargemasters, and now that's been years, so I say newer, but they changed what the plug was, and we didn't design a new plate for it. So we need to, but we haven't.
Con, I don't share my recipes with Jeff.
And by the way, folks, we literally do have a layaway plan on our website. So you can go on there, you can select a payment plan, and we'll take care of you. We do it all the time. It's perfect for those of you that want to hide, purchases from your significant other. Do it all the time.
Listen, I have lots of guys call me like, I can't have my wife finding out about this. What can we do? So we got you covered, but I'm a pro at it. But
Jeff, if you do want a decap on your Zero, Area 419 spring-loaded decapping die, get you one.
Yep.
See, the whole system. We
got one right over there. Right over there. Got you covered. Yeah.
Jeff said Summer sells everything I want 10 minutes before. Gotta be quicker, Jeff. Gotta be quicker.
That's right. Yep. I love when someone shoots us an email. I really don't. I feel bad for them, actually. They're like, hey, I saw this rifle on your site
in stock,
and it looks like it's perfect for me. And I just want to call and confirm that it's in stock. Yeah, it's just up, actually. Actually, 5 minutes ago, somebody got it. Like, don't ever be afraid to purchase on a website, folks. If something gets screwed up,
we'll refund you.
Like, we're gonna give you a full refund. Trust me. Like, if you see, especially on the rifle side, especially on the one-piece mount side, any of that stuff that's hard to get, buy it. If for some reason it's wrong,
you should see me in the dealer portal on Area 419 trying to grab mounts as fast as I can. When they come in stock, I'm like, ah!
And somebody asked the question about what the lead time is. We have in the building right now a pallet of mounts that are going through final bore and assembly. We ran 22 straight days of one-piece mounts, and I don't mean 22 days of business hours. I mean 22 periods of 24 hours straight on one of our machines making one-piece mounts. And they're finally getting through, and we're going to have more SKUs back in stock, restock. We've spent a preposterous amount of money this year on building additional machine capacity so that these mounts can get in stock and stay in stock. You're going to have them soon.
Love it. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, at this point, almost every rifle package we're setting up, the customer wants the Area 419 mount. No matter what optic they're putting on it, they're wanting the Area 419 mount.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Any chance that you guys are going to do a 2.5-inch scope mount?
Yeah, reasonably. We know that the niche for that's a little smaller.
Yeah.
And honestly, before it's a 2.5, it's probably a 1.9,
1.9,
you know,
yeah.
1.9 or a 2. 2.5 is really tall. Is that the height? There's some real niche use cases for like a high power. What's the 2.5? Who's buying that?
It's going to be ELR. There's probably some high power ones, but I think they're wanting something with an ELR that's going to. They probably have a 40, 60 MOA rail on there, and they want to make sure they have the clearance for the objective housing. Just depends on what they're using it for.
Wow.
Yeah, 2.5 is crazy high.
It is crazy high. It is crazy high. You might want to make sure you get your height over bore on that one because it'll make a little bit of a difference.
Right.
Yeah. Well, what else is new and exciting from Area 419, Craig? We got some mounts up over here that I promise you I'm gonna do a video on, but I just haven't had a chance yet.
One of these guys, a task.
Yes.
So what this system is, and we're not the first person to make a modular red dot mount, but we do think that we are making the most feature rich, robust connected mount for red dots and magnifiers and aiming lasers, or you can put there are some cool clip-on thermals you can throw up here. This is the most feature-rich option available. You know, we got the little match mounting point on the side right here. I've got a cable management plug in it, but you can also run 35, 45 degree offset sights, various products. When we get a hold of people, and this is specifically in the tactical communities where this starts to make a lot of sense. Every person, the way they want to set this up can be very, very different based on who they are as a person and exactly what they're going to have to do when this rifle comes out of the bag. So while lots of people make red dot risers, making one that has as many options and as many functional configurations as we're putting together here, nobody else is doing that. So we've got micro and Picatinny right now in like a 2.25 inch height. We've got 2.9 inch micro height that is going to be available. Like they're in assembly and packaging right now. We've got different boards that are different lengths and different offset heights, all the stuff that goes into these match points. Right now, we've got a short board on the back that you can put like flip ups on. We're working on a flip to center so that you don't have to have this part and this part separate, but it all be one, connect to your magnifier and do some cool flipping function. This is a product that is kind of stepping outside the box for us as bolt gun guys, is very much stepping into the precision tactical community. And precision tactical isn't a thing that I think was a big deal very long ago, but I very much noticed at SHOT this year. In the repeating arms category, the standard of excellence has always been, does it repeat really well? Can I go grab a pistol and every single time I pull the trigger, it goes bang? Can I go grab an AR? And I don't care if it's raining or nasty or if I've lubed it or not, or it's dusty, whatever. Every time I pull the trigger, does it go bang? So, yes, Mavericks are still in production. We'll go to them. But repeating is now, if it doesn't repeat, don't come to the show. Now it's, can it repeat? And then can it hit the same spot over and over? Right. It's kind of the next thing. So like Staccato HD. Staccato rolls up their HD. It's an excellent pistol. And it's very much about accuracy. There are ARs moving into the market. Daniel Defense just rolled out some of their premium, like they're now making a Riz 3 rail with Arcalock on bottom, and they're having package rifles with Arcalock on them. The idea of, can this thing that repeats really well also now be made into an accurized platform is awesome. So Task, T-A-S-K, Wyatt, this is, if you're going to set up a situation like this where you've got an aiming dot and a magnifier and a laser and all these other parts, how can we give you more function to keep that all up on the upper, like we talked about earlier with scope mounts, to where it's accurate the way that it wants to be, and it's rigid the way that it wants to be.
Craig is fast on responding to those comments.
Yeah,
I like seeing them. I love the dashboard here.
The other thing that why I think this is so important and why I think that it's going to continue to grow in popularity and you guys are going to produce more and more of these is, again, we're integrating more and more technology, and obviously technology is getting a lot cheaper. So, it is easier and cheaper, and it's an easy sell to, again, whether we're adding laser aiming devices, whether those are IR or not. Night vision's cheaper. More people are investing in that, those types of things. We're getting, more and more better and cheaper laser range finding capabilities. The new Maztec system that's coming out, of course, the Fire 4000 I just did a review on. If you guys haven't seen that,
and the attachment method on top here. Yep. Not only do attachment methods need to be very diverse, they need to be ultra rigid. Yep. Because who cares what you can hang off the thing if it's not going to be the same spot all the time.
100%. And that was another thing that, I talked about in that review is the way that you guys have that tapered in that mounting system for a diving board. Man, it's just, it is 100% repeatable each and every single time. And I think there's nothing better out there compared to, unless you're getting a top ring that's a diving board and one, it's all one piece, it's monolithic. So, you guys are doing great things. And I do think this task is going to be a huge seller, and it's going to continue to grow in popularity because, again, we're just attaching more and more electronics, different optics, different forward and rear mounted magnifiers and lasers and the kitchen sink, all the stuff. So, no, it's really cool. And I'm looking forward to really diving into this and mounting it up. That's over in the back because we did a carbine course last weekend, but I have the perfect setup for this, and I'm looking forward to playing around with that.
We had some questions, and you said you were going to address it regarding the Maverick.
Oh,
yeah. So the Maverick is a product that we rolled out, and that's been years now. That's been probably 4 years, and it's a modular suppressor that you can set up to have a lot of muzzle brake like function. We have a good number of those that are coming into inventory this summer. And that's a product line that we continue to explore what's great about it, what can be better about it. But we have Mavericks are still in production. I was walking through the shop this morning, and there are tubes and baffles running. We're cutting a lot of titanium right now, so that all summer long we've got pretty significant Maverick stock. We've been stocking them over the last couple of weeks. Once a week or so, we have a batch of them that we can put in, and they do go very quickly. So if you're buying them from us, make sure you're on the wait list. If you're buying them from Paramount, make sure Paramount knows what you want.
Yeah, I've been trying to grab connected.
Yep. Yeah, and Summer, send us a PO on that, and we'll make sure that you're specifically filled on it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and well, probably the best thing to do, just like we have some of the other suppressors and stuff, is put a back order capability.
Sure.
On
yeah.
that.
No, I know. Like I had a couple of customers that have been specifically looking for a particular variation of the Maverick that I've been trying to get for them for a couple of months, and so was just trying to be a little patient, Craig, because I know you guys are making stuff as fast as you can, but maintaining the quality that you guys have. So. Can I get Craig's thoughts on using neck lube versus no lube when using an M series die?
Lube them up, baby. Get it slippery.
Like earlier.
I and like somebody even talked about inside the necks. I like using one shot and just lathering it, dripping down the side, because one shot doesn't go away. It doesn't degrade powder. So what I do is I put it in one of our loading blocks. And I put that in like one of those Tupperware, like shoebox size containers. And I spray it and I rotate like down from a 45, rotate 90, do the same and do it over and just get it all over the place. Lube it up.
Well,
if you're doing bottleneck cartridges, lubrication is your friend.
I just ran 30 PRC cartridges and managed to not get any stuck, but I did double and triple coat them with one shot. So we're good now. I sprayed the first one pretty good, but
lesson learned.
It was the first case I've ever got stuck, but it was what it was.
I came home and I was laying on the kitchen counter. I was like, what is this? He's like, that's my 300 PRC.
I was like, I don't want to talk about it.
Brass stuck in the die.
I took care of him. We're all good.
Yep.
I know.
Con says this. Craig is well informed, knows his product, what goes into making them, and gets.
Thank you, Con.
There are jokers out there that like to goof around as well. Much respect, Craig. This is one of the things that I've really enjoyed with not only Area 419, but there's a couple other manufacturers and companies that we deal with. And it's been really important to me to build these personal relationships. I constantly am sending Craig questions and things like that, he's just a text away.
I think you talk to Gary more than I do, Craig.
Almost guaranteed. And then there's a couple other manufacturers. And one of the things that, and again, anytime that I ask Craig to come on to a podcast, he's always makes himself available. Here it is, 8 o'clock at night.
8 o'clock.
I'm sure his wife is wondering what he's doing, or hopefully she's watching.
She better be watching.
I know, right? The thing is, it's changing a little bit now, but going back just a couple of years ago, like you couldn't get reps from companies onto any sort of like social media or anything else. And it's great that, you do that. And I think like companies out there, if you're not getting out there and talking about your products, you are shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of companies out there that we deal with that I've been trying to like, hey man, it'd really be beneficial for you to come on and make direct contact and for people to see, for customers to see the people behind the brand. I can't stress how important that actually is.
Well, and I think more and more people, with the internet and YouTube, people want to feel like they're an educated buyer, and they should when they're spending money on the caliber and quality of products, that we like to have. They want to feel like they know what they're getting. And it's just this type of forum that makes them feel that way.
100%.
Yeah.
And it's the same reason though that I appreciate you guys so much, because Paramount Tactical is a small business that while there are more people involved than just Gary and Summer, it's Gary and Summer that are every day in the trenches with it. And a buyer can call you, and you guys are incredibly connected to it. You really care, you understand the products, and you appreciate that customer greatly.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a departure. And while some of the other big stores, there are advantages at times in working with them. And we've got wonderful, big store in the sky. They're wonderful dealers for us too. But having the option for a customer
1 mile high in the sky.
and I like Randy and Diane. Mile High is a good company, but you get really big, and you've got like a Brownells or a Midway, and I love those organizations. But as the company gets larger and larger, they have different strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah,
and being able to customers having the option to call. And let's be honest here, they're calling Summer. They prefer to talk to Summer.
100%.
And they can say, hey, what do you got? I got this problem. I got this idea. I've been wondering about this thing. What do you know? What can you tell me? You're not going to, as you get to a bigger and bigger organization, maybe they have more inventory and there's some advantages, whatever.
Yeah.
They don't have, Summer's not picking up the phone. And that's a big deal. And I think with businesses like ours, we're not big, nameless, faceless business in the sky. We're not some, big private equity game. Area 419 is 100% lock, stock, and barrel owned by John. He's in the shop every day. Justin and I, who are the VPs here, we're here every day. We know the product. We touch the product. I'm packing boxes in some capacity or dealing with something on the floor. We were at an automation show in Detroit today. We're involved every day with the nitty gritty and what's happening in the business, as well as, we're 37 people, 38 people strong. And every one of them is bought into what's happening here. The team that works here at Area 419 is unbelievable. There's no team in manufacturing like them. And if you think you run a manufacturing shop with better people, fight me. You don't. They are amazing. And they all show up to work every day with a shared mission of this shit rocks. Let's do it again every day so that we can keep doing this.
They're proud of what they're
Absolutely.
doing. They're proud of what they're producing, and they're proud of what they're a part of.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. And the same thing goes, when I walk in the store, I look at our website, man, I'm proud of what we built.
Absolutely.
We have great gear. We have a great customer base. I'm proud of the brands that we represent, and they represent us. And, it's been a hard process. It's been, but you know what?
It's why I'm
It's
great.
been worth it. It's worth it.
And it's so personal too. Like,
Oh man.
the don't read the comments. You guys are prolific on YouTube. We do a lot of YouTube comment, and you pour your heart and soul into things, and people think, they make fun of dumb things. Gary's got red hair, so there's got to be Irish jokes and leprechaun jokes that come up, and or why didn't you do this? Why are you stupid? What?
Yeah.
It's crazy, but this is a very much a man in the arena business.
100%.
And being the man in the arena is vulnerable and it's hard, and sometimes you get kicked. It hurts, but being the man in the arena is so much better than not being.
100%. Yeah. And for those of you asking, again, we are a full Area 419 dealer. There's some of the products.
We can get it.
There's some of the products we're constantly, like, folks, adding products to website is the bane of our existence, and we're trying to do more and more. If Area 419 makes it, shoot us an email. We'll get it. And a lot of times that's kind of what's like, okay, that prioritizes that product. We'll get it on the website right away. But we still got a lot of work to do, and it's not just Area 419. There's literally probably 10,000 between the products and the variations of those products. There's an easy 10,000
things that we carry or have in the store or have access to that we don't have on the website.
And that's the thing. I didn't know this. I didn't know this, and I know you guys kind of suffer from the same problem, Craig. Is like, once you get into to list one product and then you list all the different variants and colors and options. Like, literally, I was talking to our web guy one day. We were talking about the MPA rifles, and I was like, this, and this. He's like, Gary, do you realize, like, if you add it all up, there's literally like 3.2 million variations that you can get with MPA between barrel lengths, caliber, color, chassis.
Yeah.
No, I didn't realize that at all.
He realizes.
He realizes. So no, we appreciate the support, and if we're a little behind on some of those things, have some patience with us. We can fix it with a phone call or an email,
or call me.
And chat. Somebody could walk in and hand Summer a check for $10 million, and she could pour that into POs, and you would still sit here and say, yeah, but I was really thinking that if you would have ordered this, then I might have. And there's no amount. I could have said 100 million, and the same problem happens.
Yeah.
Well,
this market, we're fortunate. It's enormous, but she can't possibly stock it all. Brownells doesn't stock it all. They still order one-offs to something that they didn't have before sometimes.
Yeah. Or there's something else, like Gary said, somebody will call about something like, oh, I didn't even, that wasn't even on my radar yet. And then I order it and I'm like, holy crap, we need to get more of these to stock and get it on the web,
And you got dozens of brands, and we're all rolling out new stuff. And I mean, you're unbelievable, but there's only so much anybody can do.
Yep. Did you hear that?
He was talking to me.
Oh.
It's hard to believe.
If someone comes in and writes Summer a check for $10 million, I don't think I'll ever see her again. She will be gone.
You guys will be the most beach tanned gingers in the game.
2 weeks.
I don't know
At
if
least
I'll
2
ever
weeks
tan.
I'll be on the beach.
I don't even know if $10 million can buy me a tan, but there's a multitude. Like, let me tell you something. You could literally spend $1 million in, like, for instance, holsters and never have the right one.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah. Well, listen, Craig, we kept you here and away from your family long enough. Listen, man, we really do appreciate you coming on. We appreciate you and the all the work you do for us and square us away and all those other things, man. So we appreciate what Area 419 does, what they do for the industry, how they've changed the industry. All for the better because of the level of quality and the commitment to excellence that you guys have over there. So keep doing what you're doing.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, folks. Well, listen, we appreciate you tuning in. Tomorrow night, we're going to be doing another podcast with Tango Innovations. We'll be going over the Fire 4000. That's going to be a really cool podcast. We'll get it from the horse's mouth of what other devices those things are compatible with. I love that thing. I haven't tried the Maztec yet, but I got to tell you that thing for the price is absolutely unbelievable. So anyways, we'll have them on. We'll talk about all that, as well as some other things coming down the pike from them as well. So that's going to be a good podcast tomorrow at 7 p.m. And for everybody else, stay armed, stay ready. We'll talk to you soon.